the Jew, the Torah connected, I don't want to say observant, but Torah connected Jew, or spiritually tapped in Jew, has to look at everything that's going on from a much deeper perspective than what he's seeing on the surface. Than just, oh, it's politics and a political civil war, and look what they're doing here, and look what these guys are doing here. And we have to look at this deeper. We have to look at it from a completely different, what's called a Geulah perspective, my friends. And I'm not saying this like that we should look at it just because we want to make ourselves feel better, right? Oh, it's nice to, it makes us feel good to know that this is all for Mashiach, this is all for happening because of this. For us to, I have friends that say, oh, you just want to check out a reality. No, I don't want to check out a reality. This is the reality that we live in, but there's a difference between looking at reality and saying, wow, I don't know what this is for, and this is actually chaos and anarchy, and this is for nothing, and this is for what's going to be, and gloom and doom, and woe is me, and I don't know what I'm going to do. Or to look at it from a different lens and say to yourself, wow, this whole thing, even the stuff that was going on with Corona before these riots started, this is all heading in a certain direction, right? The Western world, the free world is heading in a certain direction. We've never seen this before. We saw riots before, right? And it's interesting, my friends, by the way, I was just talking to my family, and actually my mother was telling me, Tzvi, she's like, I wouldn't worry about the whole thing with Jews in America. This happened in the 60s and 70s. This is all cyclical, right? We also had stuff against Jews in the 60s and 70s, and then in the 80s and 90s rolled around, and everything was okay. And I said to her, listen, I don't think it's going to be cyclical this time around. Because last time, right, for those of you guys who don't know, last time we had a person like Meir Kahana, Rabbi Meir Kahana, blessed memory, who started something called the JDL, and he actually at some point wanted to, or I think he did team up with the Black Panthers, and this is precisely why the JDL, an organization like the JDL, was deemed a terrorist organization, because of the stuff that they were doing in the 1670s. But, however, as a result of that, the existence of such an organization, shuls and were not vandalized, and Jews were not, by and large, not attacked physically like they are today. Like, my friends, right now, you're watching me, right? Today, in the year 2020, 5780, I can safely tell you that Jews are the most vulnerable target in America. About as vulnerable as a black man walking down the street in his own neighborhood. Right? We're one of the most vulnerable targets in America. Our shuls, just a Jew walking down the street, anywhere. It doesn't matter where he is. Inner city, maybe even a suburb, doesn't matter at this point. You guys saw, people vandalized a shul in Los Angeles, a Persian shul. So, my friends, this is not cyclical, but what I would tell you is, what was interesting, the last time America experienced something like this was in the late 60s. And what happened in the late 60s? Israel had, the Six-Day War, and the Jews retrieved back their rightful capital, Jerusalem, and it's almost as if a portal opened up, and the portal allowed all of these massive changes, for better or worse, changes to happen in the world. And it was like this kind of spiritual revolution. People started waking up. Different people all over the world in different strata of life. And actually, that's actually when what's called the Baal Tshuva movement started. People who were coming, who were disconnected from Torah, Jews, started slowly coming back to the Torah. The Lubavitcher Rebbe started his Tefillin campaign. All these different organizations started sprouting up. Rebbetzin Youngreis started her stuff shortly thereafter. All these things started happening, in the Jewish world and in the world itself, the cultural revolutions, not China's, but in general, the Western world, right? So I think that this time around, my friends, and we actually saw kind of a prequel with it. I don't know if you guys remember, we had something called Occupy Wall Street, which, interestingly enough, when Obama was president, it happened when Obama was president, and Biden, his vice president, wasn't standing up and saying, "Oh, look at the divisions that Obama is fomenting," right? Democrats were not, interestingly enough, not standing up and not yelling about all the divisions that Obama fomented in the country, right? But now that we have basically something akin to that, which is not necessarily economic, but it's more about what happened with George Floyd. Now you have every Democrat, and Biden grandstanding, Trump fomented this, not realizing that, my friends, I'm going to say this once, right? I said this before, I'm going to say this one final time. If you're a person who's upset about what just happened, and I'm one of them, I'm upset. I'm upset about what just happened with George Floyd and this cop. But you're not upset and you're not protesting every single time a black man, or as you guys like to call it, a POC, you guys use the acronym POC, person of color, is killed by another person of color every single day in some, pick an inner city, pick any inner city in America, or as they like to call them, a murder capital. Pick any murder capital in America. Camden, New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey. 3 of them are in New Jersey. Patterson, New Jersey. My friends, they made a movie in the 90s. You know what that movie was called? Jersey Drive. About the inner city gang wars in, I think it was in New York or Patterson. I can't remember which one. I think in both. My friends, I mean, how many like African American gang movies do we need to make to finally get the point? Menace to Society. What is it called? Boys in the Hood. Juice. My friends, I mean, like the Wayans brothers even made a parody comedy on this. Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. I mean, my friends, if you're not upset about black people, killing each other every single day in America, like in the thousands, by the thousands, these are staggering. And by the way, my friends, the president, the first and only black president of America, these killings peaked during his presidency. In his hometown, in Chicago. That was like, I mean, you've got to be kidding me. You literally have to be, pardon my French, you have to be shitting me, okay? So if you guys are not pissed, if you guys are pissed about this, but you don't pay attention to the issue, to the real issue, which is internal, and if you guys are just focusing on what's something called the symptom, or one of the symptoms of this issue, I don't know, guys. I mean, either you guys are hypocrites, or you guys are ignorant, or you guys are just selectively, it's called selective outrage. Again, as I said before in another video, I want African American people to succeed and thrive and be healthy and live just like everybody else. That's why I want them to stop killing each other. I'm not excusing, obviously, what happened with this cop and everything, it's terrible. But you guys seem to have selective outrage. A friend of mine just asked me, what would have been if it was a black cop that did this? And I said, well, I don't know if a black cop would have necessarily done. Maybe a black cop would have, like, accidentally shot the guy, right? He would have opened fire in some situation. I don't know that a black cop would have done this to his own, stomp him out with a knee. But who knows? So now the question is, what would you guys do, you protesters and you looters? What would you do if there was a black cop that did this to an African-American gentleman? Think about that. Does it now become about race? Or is he, okay, so maybe he'll be an Uncle Tom, or he'll be, what is it called? A house, what you call him, a house Negro, right? My friends, listen, you don't like what I'm saying right now? It makes you uncomfortable? That's my goal. My goal is to make you as uncomfortable, what Rabbi Kahana said. Uncomfortable questions for comfortable Jews. I'm asking you uncomfortable questions, my friends. You got a problem? In the words of Mike Tyson, turn off your station. You can press the button right here, wherever your button is, to turn off the phone. You got a problem? You don't have to watch me. But I'm going to say what I'm going to say. So, my friends, so if you're not outraged about, outraged about this, but you're not outraged about blacks killing blacks every single day in America, South Central Los Angeles, St. Louis, Dallas, Philly, Trenton, Newark, Brooklyn, certain parts of Miami, certain other parts of Florida, North Florida, Atlanta. I mean, I keep naming inner city, Chicago. Like, my friends, if you're not upset about black people killing each other in these places, and you're not protesting about that, and you're not up in arms about that, about the fact that, some of these neighborhoods, not all, but some of these neighborhoods, the only hope for these young black kids to get out of it is to either become an NBA player, or a player, basketball player who plays overseas somewhere, or maybe a rapper, or if he's not doing those two jobs, he'll at the risk of creating a stereotype, he'll become a drug dealer, or he'll be dead by the age of 21. My friends, if you're not upset about any of this, then you're a hypocrite. I'm sorry, you're selectively outraged, and you're using this event to precipitate chaos. That's it. But my friends, with all that said, so I just gave you the surface level again, right? To go a little bit deeper, as I said before, all this is happening for a purpose. All this is happening because we're being rewired, and Hashem wants us to wake up to what's real. And at the end of the day, He wants us to stop doing what we've been doing, which is basically muzzling each other with politically correct, notions and jargon and all this kind of stuff. And He actually wants us to sit down and maybe have a conversation about the conversation that I'm positing to you guys right now, which is a conversation about race. He wants people to sit down and do what was actually done in the 90s and 80s, which is to air grievances to each other. He wants people to have a national conversation, a therapeutic. He wants America to have therapy, right? Because it's all part of the tikkun. You can't do a tikkun, you can't do a rectification, a fixing, what's called tikkun olam, if you don't actually talk. If you don't open your mouths and say the truth. Like if you don't do what I'm doing right now, you can't help anybody. You can't fix anything. If you just run around and do, what they're doing, these writers are doing, which is basically just a reaction. It's an outburst, right? Of a little kid with pent up aggression, who's not allowed to say certain things, or not allowed to have a certain conversation, right? And all he's doing is just lashing out. Then you can't fix anything, my friends. And if you're not going to fix it, Hashem is just going to accelerate the process. He's going to do it Himself. I was just talking to a friend of mine, and he was telling me about all the stuff that's going on with the persecuting Trump, and all these people who are whatever. I'm not going to get into too many things right now, but the people who are part of what's called the deep state, and they have their own stuff, that revelations that are coming out against them. And I asked him, I'm like, who do you think is going to stop these people? He said to me, well, Trump technically should arrest them, right? He should already, the investigations are ongoing. Barr is conducting investigations on them. But he told me Trump is not going to do it because of these factors, X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, so who's going to do it? He goes to me, Hashem is going to do it. Hashem is the ultimate, in this case, my friends, He's the ultimate shortcut. Not shortcut, but He's the ultimate, it's called, if you guys ever play poker, and there's people are betting small bets, and they're calling each other, and they keep raising and raising and raising. Hashem is the ultimate guy who goes all in. Hashem's hand is the ultimate all-in hand. And right now, Hashem is pushing all His chips, or is about to push all His chips into the pot. So now the question is, are we going to call? Are we in with Him? That's what He's doing, my friends. He's basically saying, He's trying to parse out who's with Him and who's against Him. Hashem is basically parsing out, my friends, it's not about left wing, it's not about right wing, it's not about black, it's not about white. It's simply just about, are you with Hashem? Are you not with Hashem? It's really just that simple, my friends. And right now, we see people behaving in a certain way. We actually can see. It's the picture is like, how does Jordan Peterson go with his hands? He go like this. The picture is crystallizing. And the socialist and the communist, and you just have to suffer through life. Crystallizing, right? And we see who's with Hashem and who's against Hashem. And we also are going to see who among us, among the Jewish people, who is tapped in and who is tapped out, my friends. And this thing is just going to keep accelerating, And also the stuff in Israel, and also the stuff around the world, and also stuff with economy. My friends, I mean, if you're watching a situation where some of the biggest, the most, what's called hashava companies, hashava department stores, and famous names are just collapsing, then something is happening, my friends. Something serious is happening. And for the people who are watching this and saying, well, when are we going to go back to normal? It's funny. I just sent a message to a friend of mine. I said, oh man, I'm excited. The Premiership, the English Soccer League is supposedly coming back on June 17th. What are they going to do? They're going to play into empty stadiums, kind of like what they're doing in Germany now with Bayern Munich and all these teams. Whoop-de-doo. I was talking to my father about this. Like, we have nothing to do. No sports, nothing. We're stuck watching the news, and all the nonsense that's going on. I mean, I had friends tell me today, Tzvi, don't watch the news. Welcome back. Welcome to America. Don't watch the news. Just I don't know, study Torah and do your business stuff. Just focus on that, You know what I'm saying, my friends? It's really, we just have to understand that this is all for a purpose. That this is all for a purpose. This is not gloom and doom. On surface level, it looks like chaos. On surface level, it looks like some kind of a downfall of something we've kind of thought, a lot of people, including people in my family and friends, that thought that this was the, kind of the end-all, be-all of existence, so to speak, the American dream, and all these kind of things. But my friends, listen, I'll tell you something. I'm not against America. I'm not against the idea of people coming to a place and working hard and this and that and the other. I'm not against any of that. But it's one of those things where, like, the ultimate goal for the Jewish people is to come home. Is to come home, is to build a Beit HaMikdash, to make a dwelling for Hashem. And, Hashem is going to do this one way or the other, It's going to happen by hook or by crook, right? And Rabbi Pinchas Winston explains, we have a choice, we can either have it happen what's called barachamim, with mercy in a very merciful way, or we can have it happen by what we're seeing in front of our television screen. Right now, my friends, these are what you guys are seeing, and what I told you before with coronavirus. These are all what's called patches. Hashem is giving us patches. He didn't give us, the real Yisurin yet. He didn't give us, and hopefully he won't, He hopefully he won't give us, I don't know, God forbid, a war with Iran or cataclysm or EMP attacks or any of that kind of stuff. Right now we're getting what's called a patch. Coronavirus, that's patch, Like the Hasidic father that kind of smacks his son, unfortunately. The patch, It's the back of the head when he's not doing his studies, And the riots are getting a patch. We're getting a patch. We're getting these are the birth pangs of Mashiach. Of the era of Mashiach, my friends. And I can't sit here and tell you when Mashiach is going to come or this or that, the other. I can tell you, my friends, and I've been telling this to my family and friends, that, like, once the dust settles from all these riots, again, on a practical level, the Jewish people in America are going to have to watch their back. And I said this before. You have one of two choices, my friends, watching this. Any Jew. If you're not going to defend yourself, and if you're not going to arm yourself for the purpose of defense, not to be some crazy person with an arsenal and, God forbid, walk into a building and whatever, do nefarious things, but just for the self-defense purpose. If you're not going to arm yourself for self-defense purposes, then I suggest that you start slowly looking into selling your property in this country, wrapping things up, and slowly starting the process of applying for Aliyah to Israel. Again, if you're not going to defend yourself, and you're going to sit here in America like a sitting duck, because as I mentioned before at the beginning of the program, we don't have Rabbi Meir Kahana. We don't have the JDL, or we have it, but it was declared, it's the equivalent of it's on the same list Antifa's just got on, right? people are afraid to, the American Jew, unfortunately, guys, I hate to say, anybody who's watching, no offense to you guys, the American Jew became this kind of docile Larry David, Woody Allen figure, okay? Eating Palestinian chicken, all right? Watching Larry David and Jackie Mason and Woody Allen. I have nothing against the comedy, but I'm just saying, guys, like, I remember I had some friends that when they went on Birthright and they told me that they saw IDF soldiers for the first time ever, and they were stunned by the image of this totally different Jew that they haven't seen in America, right? Jewish man. I've had girls tell me that. They're like, wow, these Jewish guys that I see on, they say J-Date, and I meet them in New York, and they're like this and they're like that. And then I came to Israel, I saw these guys, like Israeli army guys, and this and that, whatever. My friends, I mean, if you're not going to be, an American version of an IDF guy, then I suggest you pack your stuff and you come home, my friends. I'm just here visiting. I'm just passing through, my friends. Just passing through. And that's the best advice I can give you. Unsolicited. With that said, guys, keep your eyes on the prize, as Matisyahu recently has been singing. Keep your eyes on the prize. Forever by my side, you're my golden sunshine. Keep your eyes on the prize, my friends. We are in the heels of something great. As one of my teachers, Yom Tov Glazer, says, something great is coming, and we have to be ready for it. And we just have to look past all of this chaos and all of this hatred and anger and understand that it's all, Hashem is bringing it all for a purpose. Again, just change your lens, my friends. Just change your lens. It's not about left or right. It's not about Democrat, Republican, or black or white. It's about Hashem. Are you with Hashem or you're not with Hashem? That's really, really it. And very soon we're going to find out what people are made of. Anyway, guys, all right. Catch you later. It's been real, really real. And Mizrat Hashem, tomorrow we'll talk.